Hello everyone, and welcome to the next video in this series of the Node.js web development practice session. In the last video, what we did was we just explored about the Node.js process, how to set up a very basic project, and we also did not look into the details about like how to structure your application, how to, for example, return HTML web pages, or also how to template them. In this video, what we will do is we will try to provide the response in the HTML format, and then we will also proceed ahead and see how we can template the HTML file so that we can build and provide the dynamic responses whenever needed. For example, if you are going to build a blog post, you might want to create a view that takes in the parameter for the blog ID and then fetches the blog from the database and returns it as a response inside that HTML page. So that is what we are going to do in this video. This is the code that we will be doing in this video. Will be available on this URL that you can see. I will also try to link this URL on in the video description, so you can also access it. And although the code is a little too old for me to get started on, but what we will do is we will try to stick to the same code that I was using 4 years ago, unfortunately. But we will try to update some of the things and make sure that we're not running into some bad practices around the coding. And I'm really very sorry for taking 4 years to create a sequel for the first video, but here it is. And now this time I will try to be consistent, and I will try to create videos quite quickly. So yeah, let's get into VS Code, and we will start right from where we left. And this was the process page that we created last time. Our application was able to capture the request, provide some responses, and also handle some issues, like, for example, what happens if somebody tries to access a page that does not exist, kind of like the line on page, the line 16, right? So app.get, and we pass in asterisk, and it just says that but you're lost. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it about a very basic Node.js application that just says hello to the people. So what we will do here, there are a lot of things that I really want to change. So for example, I will start by removing 5 because it's just too much to type, and then I will also try to change this one to HTTP so that whenever our process starts, we can easily click on the logs, and it should open up the window in browser. And then what we can do is let's go to the package.json and see what we have in the file. As you can see, we only have like 2 dependencies. One of them is express and the other one is pug. Let's see. This is actually a plugin that I'm using in my regular development. I'm not gonna talk about it at all in here, but yeah, that'll be it. We're going to avoid these vulnerabilities for the moment because yeah, actually I will talk about it in a little bit, why we're going to skip these vulnerabilities and this plugin altogether, because npm itself has a similar feature. So what we can do is we can press Ctrl and tilde sign, and it should bring up the terminal. So let's just run npm install and see what it says. So yeah, so right there it says the registry is up to date with the dependencies. It found 8 vulnerabilities, 1 low, 2 moderate, 1 high, and 4 critical. Now, although we have only 2 dependencies, but it was able to find a lot of vulnerabilities. The reason is that these 2 frameworks, they have their own dependencies. So it's going to scan the dependencies for these dependencies as well, and continuously, like in a tree, in a recursive manner. And so that is why this is the report. So let us try to run npm audit fix and see what it does, and if it's able to solve any of these. It's not a silver bullet, so don't expect it to solve everything. So yeah, the bug that is So basically it says that the pug that is smaller than 3 third version has an issue. So let's go ahead and see which is the version that is available right now. Okay, so we can use this one, and let's also see for Express. Oops. Yeah. So let's save them and run it so that we're actually running the latest version of the dependencies and see what happens. Oh yeah, so now it sees it does not have any vulnerabilities, but the extension is still saying that, so I would want you to skip that for now. Now what we can do is now another way in the previous videos, what we were doing was we were directly running the application as a process. In this video, what we will do is we will actually create a script, because that's one of the good approaches, especially if your project becomes too complex, which we will talk about in the future videos. But for the time being, what we can say is if your application, the Node.js process, requires a lot of processes to bootstrap, like for example, if you need to run a database, or if you also need to run the monitoring system or whatever, then in most cases it is better to create a script than to have write these commands in terminal or set them in your environment. So that is exactly what we will be doing here. We will create a new command start, and as you might have seen, that Node.js comes with some default naming conventions for the scripts, like install, lint, post install, pre-install. Especially if you are building an npm package, you can use these scripts and run certain commands. For example, once the user has downloaded or installed your package, then you can like run any command. Like for example, pre-install, you can run this command to verify a lot of stuff, and also like it has post install, etc. So this is one of the ways in which you can handle npm based packages and how they work. What we will be doing is we will just be using start, and what I will do is I will write the command that I was using previously. So now what we have is we have a script that we can run via npm. So the process is npm run and then the name of the script, which is start in our case. So if you just do that, it's gonna do the same thing, but this time this command was run via npm. So now npm knows if everything is okay, and if that is the case, then it will just go ahead and start the process. And as you can see, it says server started listening at http localhost 1234. So we can now go ahead and run this process over here, and as you can see, it says hello from node sample. Now that's okay, because that's exactly what we had previously. So now what we can do is we can actually create a new file, like index.html, and in this file we can add some content. So what we can do right now over here is we can go back to the main page, and we can just use the response and do a send file. But over here, what we need to do is we need to provide the complete path for the file, because Node.js does not know where the file exists, right? So what we can do is we can quickly use the path helper. So what this does is it exposes a little a few path utilities, right? Because of course Node.js is cross-platform, so certain path elements Node does not know about correctly, especially like for example the path separators in Linux are different from Windows, etc. So this package actually helps us with those problems. So what we can do is we can just say like path or join. So what it does is it joins two paths. So Node.js provides this directory name, which is like the root directory for us, and then we can do this plus and say /index.html. So what this will do is it will look for an index.html file inside the directory name, whichever the value is. Basically it's where the process is running, and it's going to get that file and stream it down to the browser, right? So what now we can do is we can run the process one more time, go back to our and open the process again, and this time what you see is it shows us the content that we've written over here, Node.js, and then hello everyone, right? So now this is good because we can of course go ahead, like for example we can set like Bootstrap CDN. So what we can do is with this Bootstrap CDN we can install the Bootstrap, right? This and this should go over here, right? And then we can install the JavaScript, this and also like no, it's the same thing. Nope, we need to do this as well. So after we have done this, if we go back and we refresh the page, now you see that our page has fonts and everything applied by default. And you know, for example, if we just open up the console and the pages, you can see like now all these styling, it comes from Bootstrap, right? So we did not have to do anything. We just had to like add these scripts, and voila, our page already has a theme and everything ready. We can certainly go ahead and like create something like a div container, like class is equal to container. Let's see what it does. So it brought it like a little bit inside the container. We certainly do need to provide some meta tags inside the head that Bootstrap requires. But let's not go into the details of how a web page works, because the focus of this video is more on how to create a templated page, right? So this was how you actually send the HTML content, right? But we can do something more, like a little bit more interesting. And what that is, that we can use a templated web page and provide some content to it. So for example, what if we wanted to do like instead of like saying hello everyone, for example, if we know that we have some customers, how about we show the name of the customer right here, hello everyone. And also instead of Node.js, we also show something like how many people are active on our website at the moment, or how many blog posts do we contain. So we cannot like hard code all those values because they are not going to be accurate most of the times. So what we do is we instead of hard coding these values, we template them. One of the ways in which we can do is we can use a template engine, and Pug is one of them. So what we will do is we will go ahead and create a new page and return it from the Express.js process. So let's get started. So just with the app.js, let's create an about.pug file, and what it should do is it should just return the same thing. So let's go ahead and convert HTML to pug. So there are a lot of converters for our HTML. So what we will do is we will yeah, okay, so there we have it. And then what we can do is we can, oops, not this one, this one. So what I've done is, so far I've just converted the same index.html file to a templated pug file. Now in this file, what we can do is we can provide some parameters. So now before we get started, what we can do is we can set some variables like the view engine, right? So Express knows which view engine we are using. App.set views, and then we can also set the value to views. So now if we take a look at what we have over here, we have a view engine that we have set to pug, and we also have a few views, right? And then inside the page, what we are doing is whenever somebody is trying to access the about page, we just return the about.pug template with a variable greeting. So in our page, if we come back over here, we see that we have like this Node.js and a hello with a greeting, which wouldn't make much sense because we might have to remove this hello from here and then expect the value to be interpolated over here. Let's give it a try, right? Where is my page? Yeah, okay, so it's over there. Let's refresh. Okay, so it's still saying hello because of course we just removed the hello from our server-side code, and now this time it says hello everyone. We can of course interpolate this and use something like name, right? And what we can do is if the request dot params dot name, if it exists, then we can render about.pug and send the greeting as request.params.name, right? Otherwise we just say hi everyone. So if we have the name, then we send the name, otherwise we just send everyone. So let's see. Okay, so now it expects that. So let's say something like YouTube. So now it says hello YouTube. Hello YouTube. So if we change the sentence, then we can also change the content itself, which is of course not something that happens mostly in the world, in the web, but this is something that we can certainly control from over here. Of course we can always switch it up like this. So we always have, so we can always use something like this. So if this is the only thing, then we can have like one URL that only handles the parameter less scenario, and then we have another case where we are handling the code itself. And as you can see in the terminal, we have an exception, an error that says that the headers for the response were already sent, which means that we had this response over here in this line. We send the response back to the browser, and then in the next line we try to send the response again. So what we can do is we can just create the boundary over here, and then this exception should not occur. So let's close this and try to access the server one more time. This time it works just fine. We can close it, and if we go back to the about page, we can still see the same page. So now the same page, the about.pug page, is being reused over here. And what's happening is that JavaScript is trying to render this page into HTML, and using the pug template, what it does is it fills in all the fields, all the details that are required. And while doing so, what it does is that it generates an HTML that is dynamic in nature, which was filled with the parameters that we just passed in. And that's pretty much it about the templated web pages, right? We can of course go ahead and create more complex and complicated pages, but that's something that I do not want to discuss in this video, because that's just about the advanced use cases, which of course you can review from the Pugs official documentation. What I would certainly want to talk about right now is the structuring, how to lay out your files. Over the last few years, what I have learned is that all of your files, they need to be structured and organized in a very specific manner. So here's what I do. I always create a source folder inside the root. I move my Node.js process, the entry point, in the root of that folder, and then I move all other similar resources inside the source folder. So what that leaves me with is a source folder and license, a package.json, and a readme file. So now if I'm looking for the overall hierarchy of the project, then I have just a few files in every folder instead of like a mess of them. And then inside the source, I can create views. I can create like other files, like for example, the routing, the route handlers, the database, the models, etc., which we will look into in the coming videos. For now, what we can just look at is the index.html, right? Should I move it? No, actually it's not a templated one, so I'll just leave it over here. Right now we also need to like update our package.json file, because we're no longer accessing the Node.js from the root. So what we will need to do is we will need to update this file, and we also need to update our views directory, because we're also not accessing it directly from here, right? Same for this one, /source/index, and then let's give it another try. So the server starts. Let's hope that the application is also running. Where is it looking? Okay, so the source was unfortunate on my part. Sorry about that. So the views we can remove, because it's looking at the file from perspective of the app.js, and app.js is already in the source folder, so we don't need to provide it. So there we go. We were able to organize our code a little bit as well, and we were also able to template the web pages. So now we can easily pass in the parameters and control what we want to do.